Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new camp build, and today we're going to make use of the brand new Rustic Greenhouse set that's just arrived in the Atomic Shop. So let's jump in and have a look at this thing, shall we? Okay then, so this is a brand new set that we had data mined quite a while ago, and it looks pretty darn cool. I'm quite impressed with it. It's a bit more dynamic than some of the sets. There's a couple of shortcomings to it. It's not perfect, but it's pretty cool and a nice little bit of variety. So, looking at the map a moment, we're going to have a little look at where we are, which is down here in the Cranberry Bog on the main road there. This is the same place I built my country house a little while ago, a few weeks back, and I just kind of grabbed this spot as it's reasonably flat and open, and I needed somewhere like that to find reasonably pronto, so it's a decent spot for it. So, let's have a look at this build, shall we? So I've got a foundation in already, just because I wanted to line things up so it was level with the road, just to save a bit of faffing around. So with that first one in, we'll add some more. So, relatively simple shape to this structure. It's the decoration that's really going to bring it to life. We're going with kind of hothouse, greenhouse type vibe for this one. It's a pretty cool result, I think. So the main piece of the floor here is a 3 across by 6 backwards foundation, so quite large. And we're going to make it even bigger in a second by putting a 2 by 2 just on each side here. Kind of turns it into a bit of a cross shape, sort of like you might use if you were building a church. So I'm starting to see this bit of ground. It's not quite as flat as I thought it was, but it'll do. It's a decent spot for it. So that's the main layout. We'll move on to some walls. So here we have the new set. It's yeah, a bit beaten up, a bit of different textures going on there with the brick at the bottom and stuff, which is quite cool. And we've also got some windows in these that actually you have options for how they're open. You see there's 3 different positions there, which is quite cool. Well, 4 if you count closed. So we're just going to do the closed for now and put all of these walls in, and I'll put some open ones in when I sort of figured out where things are going to go in the decoration phase, so it kind of makes more sense in that final sort of choice of open windows. But for now, let's get some staircases in here. We're going to have a kind of mezzanine level across the back end of this. That's going to basically be where the living space is, or converted into a living space. So we'll get some mesh floors in, because I want this to look like a greenhouse that somebody's moved into. Hell knows how it survived 25 plus years after the war and is still intact, but apparently it is. But still, we've got plants growing in here, and I wanted to make it look like a decent kind of greenhouse that somebody's gone, well, that'll keep the weather off, and it'll be a bit different, and moved in. So, upper floor in place. We'll get some extra walls in on the top here, and this is where it starts to get a bit more fiddly. So we'll start with these half walls, particularly around this sort of area where the upper floor is, as we'll need a little bit more headroom up here. So we'll follow these all the way around. There we go. So it's just half walls all the way around. We've only got the one style of half wall on this one. We have got a few different styles of roofs though, which we're going to do next. So you see we've got some of them that are open windowed, some are closed. We've also got flat roofs, sort of straight ones, and kind of bowed ones as well, which is quite cool. Do wish we had bowed roofs for the sort of flat ones rather than the angled ones, but unfortunately we don't for those. They are quite cool for these, so we'll use some of the slightly different ones and change up the vibe a little bit. It makes the whole thing look a little bit more organic. We do have a slight technical difficulty here there. Because I'm trying to place this roof over the top of a staircase, it won't go for some reason. And I have no idea why, it just won't do it. The same thing's happening over here. However, there is a simple solution, and that's to use a roof from a different set. And then just go into the store scrap replace option, hit replace, and move it out for the roof I actually want. Simple as that. We're also going to have to do the same thing with some of the flat ones in a bit, because for some reason those are awkward as well, much like the last new set we got, but it does work with a little fiddling around. So we'll get some of these flat roofs in now. As I say, these are just flat roofs, as opposed to having the kind of sort of bowing effect that the other ones have got, which is a bit of a pity we don't have that option, really. There we go, there's one that won't go in. That one will, this one won't. God knows why, but we will fix it in a sec. So, can't do it from above either for some reason, so we'll just put flat ones in from another set, and we'll swap them out. There we go, nice and easy. Sorted. So, last few roofs to do, and then we'll move on to plugging up gaps. That one won't go in either for some reason, and there's another one that doesn't want to cooperate. Interestingly, this is not the same combination of roofs that wouldn't cooperate the first time I built this. I did a sort of test run on it. Different roofs being awkward that time. had the same problem in different places, so rhyme or reason does not seem to be present for this particular scenario, but at least it's an easy enough fix, so not too much of a problem. So speaking of things that are a bit finicky, we've got some gaps to close up, and we need some angled walls here. As you can see, this is already wanting to jump up top. Now, I think I'm using the wrong wall here, which probably doesn't help my situation any, but it's darn so easy to do if we just pull this whole lot off and then put the roofs in, the walls rather in, because it's just got less to confuse it then, I think. So it goes in much more easily now. It still takes a bit of persuasion. Come on. There we go. But we are there now. And we've got a few more gaps to close up as well, obviously. So let's just stick the roof on while we're here. And look at that. This time it went in just fine. I don't know. It's weird. Put those two on while we're here. We'll move on to closing up a few more gaps. Now, we'll stick a couple of these back in. And we need some on the sides here. Wouldn't want to use the single pieces here, even though they'd be the right height, because they've got that kind of brickwork across the bottom, which would look weird halfway up the wall. So, 2 half walls it is. We'll close up these sort of inverted triangles now, and as with every other building set, these particular pieces are awkward as all hell to get to snap. They will do it, they're just temperamental, I think would be a good word. There we go. And persuasion later, it will eventually go into place. There we go. Come on. So a little bit frustrating that, but they do the job eventually. Nice. There we go. Just a few more bits to finish off with. Need to get a half wall in here, but this is not going to snap for love nor money for some weird reason, so we're going to need to support it from underneath. So we'll stick a wall down the bottom there. Just need to make sure it's in the right place, which is sort of this side of the line there. Yeah, it looks to be the right place. If it isn't, it works and it looks decent, so that'll do. That's the major criteria. There we go, gap closed up, we can take those out, and you'd never know there was a problem. Because of course you wouldn't. So we'll close up these last few gaps now. This is considerably easier to do. At least these pieces are much more cooperative. So this one's done, now we'll buzz back around the last few here. Up we go. Now, come on, that one there. And the last one here. So that is our core structure, and looking decidedly greenhouse-like, I think. Definitely got the right vibe. So we're just going to put a couple of railings here to close off this top section, and we'll head downstairs and do a couple of little bits before we decorate. So we'll pop out the front door here. Big open space, this one. Stick a couple of railings on here for our entranceway, and we'll put a door on, but we don't have one that matches the set, unfortunately. Bit of an oversight there, but not the end of the world, so we'll make do with that one. Still not a big fan of the fact that that foundation sticks so much up at that side, but I'll be able to cover that in the decoration phase, which it is about time we moved on to. So, with all the decoration done, let's tour. So, couldn't really find anywhere inside to put the power armor station. Could maybe have pulled it off, but I decided to put it out here next to the Collectron, where we can just use both of them to kind of conceal that tall foundation. Used a couple of the encampment bridges just to mix up the shape a little bit, make it a bit more interesting. Got a few bits and pieces on the outside here. I put a few wooden boards on the outside and a few bits and pieces to dress it up, but I kept it quite simple because there are a lot of crops in particular in this build, and that takes up a lot of the build budget. So that's the kind of the price we pay for this sort of build, but the end result I think is worth it, and I managed to decorate quite nicely, I think. Let's make our way inside. Yeah, door doesn't quite match, but what are you going to do, I guess? Here we go. So I had wanted to have these areas where the crops are sort of raised up. We're using sort of planter foundations here, the ones that you get from Wastelanders when you can sort of complete the Settlers quest line. And they make a nice little sort of planting area. Got the bowed roofs up there looking quite nice, giving it a nice organic vibe. Nice sunny weather to give it a really kind of warm sunny vibe. Looks quite cool in here, I like it. And I've spread my workbenches, as you can see, out around the pathways and the walkways, and same with the stash boxes and stuff as well, just to clear up, use the gaps and kind of dress up around these little areas where the planters are. Got a few generators, a few stash boxes, a few other bits and pieces around. I've got a whole bunch of cycling lights in here that I've used mostly just to give a dash of colour and make it a bit more interesting. There's a few greens in there, which I know don't make a whole lot of sense, but it kind of adds to the mood, which is really what it's all about. So a little bit of careful positioning was required with the wires to kind of keep those out of sight. We've got a couple of solar panels in there up front as well, but they kind of work. There we go. I'll head on round. Got one of the stone textures down here because I felt it kind of worked a little better for the location rather than just a plain foundation. There we go. There's one of my generators and a wheelbarrow with a skeleton in it. Had to use that, so part of the new set as well. Up to the chemistry station underneath there. There's one of the open windows. You get a nice close look at the textures on the new wall pieces there. They look quite cool. Working them into a build with other materials is going to be interesting. I'm going to have to give that a go at some point soon. Maybe in a couple of weeks, but I need a little time to think on how that's going to work, I think. So here we have our little living area on the mezzanine level. And yeah, quite happy with how this came out. It's quite spacious. I do like the sound of the bird in here. It kind of fits with the vibe of the place. But yeah. So I've got little areas for different things up here. We've got a little study area here. Got a bedroom and living room area and a kitchen area. But it's quite big and open, and with the limited budget available, getting the decoration right was a bit of an exercise, but I'm quite happy with how it's come out. I swapped out a load of these floor pieces as well for some that have different textures and planks and stuff on them, so that you're kind of mixing things up a bit. Decided to use a power armor stand for what I think is probably the first time. So I kind of had to put the Strangleheart power armor on it, given the theme of this build, but it looks quite nice, I think. I like the look of the place. The sundew plant's actually blending with the sundew grove just across the road there, which works quite well. Make our way over to the kitchen. Like I did with the fireplace in the sitting area, I've put this cooking station just below one of the open windows so the smoke can get out. In the case of the other fireplace, though, I've had to kind of clip it through so that window's closed. You can see this window sits sort of horizontally, sort of flat, even though it's open. That kind of gets in the way with the chimney, as you can see there, so I thought I might as well have it closed. But it works. It creates a nice little vibe, so quite like the look of this place. Very different kind of style to what I usually do, but it's got, I suppose, my fingerprints on it in its own way, and kind of a cool theme to it, which I quite like. Kind of got a summer camp vibe as well, although I imagine it gets very, very hot in there in summer. We'll make our way downstairs, have a little look around this side on the way back out. Try to mix up the kind of combinations of plants to give a little bit of variety in there, but we've only got so much sort of tall stuff available. There's my shelter down there under the stairs. Took the foundation out, put the shelter entrance in, and then snapped it back in. More workbenches. Yeah, the railings are put around the planter floors there, the farmable tiles. I had to take the floors out around them in order to snap those in. So, sort of case of put the plants in, take the floors out around them, snap those railings in, put the floors back, and then carry on decorating, just to make sure I could fill them up quite nicely like that. But it worked quite well. Quite happy with how that came out. Let's make our way back outside. Yeah, I do like this camp. It's a little bit of a different feeling, but it's come out quite nicely, I think. And really liking this new set. Looking forward to kind of experimenting with it a bit over the next however long and seeing what we can come up with. So, do hope you folks did enjoy this camp build. If you did, please do leave a sub or a like. I very much appreciate it. Down below the video, you can find social media links, merch store, and channel memberships as well if you're interested in supporting the channel that way. I very, very much appreciate it. Really, really helps out. And if you get a chance, do join us for our live streams as well. We are playing, of course, Fallout 76, wrapping up with Mass Effect 3, and about to move on to Doom Eternal as well now, so I do hope you join us for those. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.